I was reading from a book written by A.W. Tozer about the characteristics of God. And one of the highlighted portions that I read about the characteristics of God is the characteristic of being immutable. In other words, immutability is one of God's characteristics. That means that God's not subject to change. And A.W. Tozer wrote that God hasn't diminished. I say that in a lot of my sermons. I say that nobody's put a banana peel in front of the throne room and God hadn't slipped up and he's no less powerful. But then he wrote something that just, man, it popped me. He wrote that God hasn't grown either. There's no growth in God. If you're immutable, nothing changes. So the same weight class that God was at the Red Sea, he's in that same weight class now. The same weight class that God was for Daniel in the lion's den, he's the same right now. The same weight class that God was 20 years back when you needed him to be a doctor in the sick room, he's that same weight class now. The same weight class for some of us that needed him to be a lawyer in the courtroom, he's that same weight class now. God hasn't changed. There's that, because sometimes when you grow outward and you're just a little slower than what you used to be. But that God, he has the same swiftness, the same boldness, the same ability, the same God that he was for your grandmama and them. He's the same God for you. And he's the same God as he was for your mother, your father, and for you. Look, our God isn't subject to change. Not only has he not lost any power, he hasn't grown either. So I don't care how fast your opponents may be, they're still fighting a God that's the same weight class that he did all the exploits in the Bible. Our God isn't subject to change. Be blessed.